Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon for more cricket updates.
And, I'm sure Robin has experienced this in the locker room. You have colleagues that, maybe you've won a really great cricket match, but there's something that doesn't feel right. And so I'm curious, how Robin has handled, his own experience and experience with his colleagues when, you know, maybe you don't feel, as happy as you think you should. And how do you approach that?
Well, thanks, Adrian. I'll take it from there. uh, it's something that's very true. I think we as cricketers actually experience that quite a lot in varying forms, to be very honest. Sometimes we could be scoring all the runs in the world, but we just aren't innately happy with the way we're playing, or there's something that's bothering us, or the other extreme could be we're doing everything that we can do in our capacity to score runs, to do well, to take wickets, to field well, and yet it's not coming off on the game on the field while you're playing the game. Under pressure situations, and I've certainly gone through situations in my life where I'm working extremely hard. I'm doing everything right that's within my strength and my control, and I just can't just not able to score runs. I can think back of a time in 2014 when I made a comeback into the Indian team. I was the highest run scorer in the IPL, and I was captain of the India A team to Australia. And if that tournament went well for me, I would have made it straight into the Indian senior side. And for some reason, down in Australia, no matter what I did, no matter how hard I worked at the nets at practice, I couldn't score a run off my bat. I would spend hours on end, batting in the nets to get that feel right, and the feel just wasn't there. And lo and behold, 9 matches later, I scored 150 runs. I had next to nothing, and then missed the comeback into the Indian side. And it was in hindsight that when I came back from that tournament and I spent some time by myself, is when I actually realized that innately I was not happy, and I wasn't trying to address what was going on within me emotionally. If I actually sat down by myself and addressed that, yes, there is a problem. There's some part of me that was not willing to accept that there was actually an issue with me at that point in time. And I think a lot of athletes actually do that during competition. And that tends to hamper, as in the short side it's not good, in the long run it's again not good. I think one of the main things I learned in that phase is that when you're going through something, you have to have the awareness to recognize that there's something that's wrong. And the minute you recognize that there's something that's wrong, then you need to accept that there's something that's wrong. What we actually um, do is sometimes, even though we're aware that there's something that's wrong, we're not willing to accept that there's something wrong. I think acceptance and acknowledgement that yes, there is something wrong, and I need to address that, I think is the number one cause of of issues, especially among men. In my experience, men find it very hard to accept that they actually experience mental issues, or they're finding something that's hard for them to deal with mentally, right? And they find it very hard to accept that they've got an issue, and it's very hard to be vulnerable. I think men find it very hard to expose that side of them. And I think it takes a real man to be able to expose that side of yourself and say, yes, I have an issue. I'm feeling vulnerable in this particular point in my life, and I need to address it. And once you accept and acknowledge that there is an issue, your mind and your body automatically start looking for solutions. And we find that in due course of time. In my experience, in everything that I've gone through in my own personal life and in my career, I've understood that the minute I accept that these are my current situation, like this is the situation that I'm in, where do I go from here? The minute I acknowledge that and I start asking that question, okay, where do I go from here? What's my first step from here? I begin to start finding solutions.